So the trailer for Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered was released a few days ago, and man, it has not been met with the best reception on something officially Spider-Man related. Like, how is the dislike to like ratio that big? Well, we know why, and it's not because it's Spider-Man per se, but because of this. What is this? He looks like a baby! There's even change.org petitions on changing the new Peter Parker because everyone's just like, no! So Insomniac have changed the face of a character that fans have found so relatable for the last 3 years, since the model reveal of Peter Parker in the PGW 2017 trailer for Marvel Spider-Man. It was in summer 2017 that Insomniac also revealed that Peter Parker would be 23 years old, having been Spider-Man for a total of 8 years. Oh, what else released in summer 2017? Oh, Spider-Man Homecoming. So in a time where we were getting a return to a much younger faced Peter Parker in the MCU, someone who very much looks like a convincing high schooler. Sorry, Tobey Maguire. It was a really nice contrast to have a more mature Spider-Man as opposed to the Tom Holland version. So I loved Spider-Man Homecoming, the tone of the film, the characters, the story, but to me it felt like Peter Parker wasn't quite Spider-Man just yet. Obviously he's still working things out, getting used to his costume, his persona, his responsibilities, and it's still not maybe making the best jokes.
Hey, Big Bird!
But to then see Insomniac Spider-Man do all of that in the game, and feel so true to the comics, animated series, a combination of all the films, it was such a blessing, and many fans can agree that this interpretation of the character is the best one we've had in a long time.
Remember our first fight? Me so young and stupid, you just stupid!
Of course, everyone can have their own favourite version of Spider-Man, but the love for this game and this particular character has been huge. So spoilers ahead for the game if you haven't played it yet, but there's so many emotional moments in this, whether that's Peter just being Peter, or Peter as an unmasked Spider-Man. Like, holy hell, Pete goes through so much in this, and it comes across so well in Yuri Lowenthal's brilliant voice acting, did I say his name right? And through John Bubniak's face model. Insomniac's Peter, as they have emphasised so much on the lead up to the game, is 23 years old and looks undoubtedly like a 23-year-old scientist. You know, like a man who's been fighting crime in tight spandex for 8 years, who's been juggling responsibilities as both a superhero and as a man who's trying to maintain a romantic relationship, maintain a career, and to looking after his elderly aunt, or aunt, however you say it, and to barely looking after himself.
Can't believe I haven't slept since the Fisk takedown. Gotta start taking better care of myself.
So I've always found Peter Parker so relatable growing up, and was 23 at the time of the game's release, so obviously when I found out that Peter would be the same age too, I was like, oh, I'm Spider-Man? Not to mention the fact that he also wore a checkered shirt too, and I was like, ooh, we're one and the same. As many fans stated during the 2017 PGW trailer, Peter looked like a decent amalgamation of each of the 3 recent live-action Peter Parkers we've seen so far, and it's led hardcore fans of each of these interpretations to find something particularly relatable in this Peter Parker. All of that is so evident in the advanced costume too, the one that was revealed in the 2016 trailer, from the expressive eyes, taken from the MCU Spidey, the front emblem from the Tatum costume, and the back emblem from the Raimi costume. Or Raimi. Am I saying that right again? You really do get the best of all worlds with this version of Spider-Man, and I, personally, like this most recent interpretation of the character more so than any others we've seen recently. Insomniac Spider-Man feels like the Spider-Man I personally know and love, and to see a huge uproar against changing the face of this particularly beloved character is understandable. We've gone from a visually well-rounded Peter Parker, although he ain't round, he's thick, to a Tom Holland lookalike in the PS5 remastered version that I personally don't think has those same visual nuances as the original character model. The new character model looks younger, a bit more generic, and I personally don't think has that Peter Parker charm and twinkle to him, that little twinkle in his eye. So I've been watching comparison videos between the PS4 and PS4 Pro version of Marvel Spider-Man alongside the remaster, and although it's evident that the PS5's visuals are ultimately better, the textures, the lighting, there's just something weird and lifeless about the new model to me. I've seen a lot of comments regarding the nuances in the acting, and I know it's maybe unfair to compare when maybe they're still working on the remastered version, but you see when Doc Ock reveals his tentacle arms to Peter for the first time, the original version has a look of, wow, this is amazing but terrifying and worrying at the same time. When he says amazing, like, he definitely is amazed, but he obviously doesn't look convinced that it's amazing for the right reasons, like there is genuine worry there. And then when you compare it to the PS5 model, he just looks impressed, and that's pretty much it. Like, I know it's just one scene we're comparing, like every other scene in the remaster might capture those same nuances and emotions perfectly, or even better. But it's kind of no wonder why fans are so upset about this, because it does feel like a downgrade. I feel bad for Ben Jordan, the actor supplying the new face model for Peter Parker, because he was given the opportunity to play a universally beloved character in a popular game, and people have just been like, nope. But then I know there's people that genuinely like the new Peter Parker. Maybe to some fans, this Peter Parker will resonate with them more, as different versions of the character resonate with different fans, which is great. So the reason Insomniac gave for changing the model, which was a decision they didn't make lightly, was to match Yuri Lowenthal's performance better and to give a better next-gen performance. And if that's the case for the rest of the remaster and the series moving forward, because this is definitely our new Peter Parker now, then hopefully it does make Insomniac's job easier and does result in better performances from the actors. Based on this one scene though, I personally am not convinced so far. The new Peter Parker look might grow on me, and I guess it'll probably have to, because I really want to play these new games, I want to play the sequel, I want to play Miles Morales, but it does make me a bit less excited to move forward with a character that I grew accustomed to that now looks different. It's kind of like changing Aunt Viv in The Fresh Prince. Like, the recast was okay, but original Aunt Viv was the bomb. And I know Yuri's performance will still stay the same, we'll still get the same funny quips, the same classic Spidey delivery, and the same effort put into emotional moments. It'll just be strange seeing it with a new skin and having to get accustomed to this. I really would have preferred if they brought Bubniak back. That's funny to say, Bubniak back. If you look at how he actually looks in real life graphics, he looks, well, to me anyway, like an older Peter Parker would. He's got the hair that looks messy, but could also look neat too, a mature face for this version of the character. He's good looking, but not too good looking for Peter Parker, which I know can be an issue sometimes, and he's just perfect. Then there's some pics of Ben Jordan where he gives off that same vibe too, but I think the tweaked game model doesn't resemble its actor enough. And this time around it just looks like Sony maybe pressured Insomniac to remodel it to definitely include some Tom Holland elements in there to reinforce the Tom Holland Spider-Man brand, which isn't a bad thing overall, but definitely takes away from the mature, experienced Spider-Man we've been presented with and gotten used to over the last few years. Especially for fans that wanted something a bit different to the current younger portrayals we've been getting in recent films and other media. It's kind of like switching out Tobey Maguire for Tom Holland in the Raimi films, and keeping everything else the same, the dialogue, the setting, just everything. It would be really jarring. When I saw the trailer, it was actually posted in a Facebook group with a caption, "Hello there, it's me, Tom Holland." And I watched it and I was just so confused. I just thought, oh, this is just a deepfake with Tom Holland. But then I saw that it was an unlisted video on the official PlayStation YouTube channel, so I was confused again, because if it's real, why would it be unlisted? But then I looked on YouTube to see if the trailer was posted anywhere else, and lo and behold, it was, which confirmed that they really did in fact change Peter Parker. I even showed my brother and he watched it and said, oh, it's just a Tom Holland deepfake. And I'm like, no, it's real. And he watched it in silence. Then he said, are you sure this is real? I'm like, yep. And I think he was just as confused as me. Imagine how funny it would be if Insomniac just never revealed the new Peter Parker model, and then everyone fires up the remastered version of Spider-Man on their shiny new PlayStation 5s, and it gets to the opening scene where Peter is in bed and gets his notification on his phone about Fisk, and he sees his face for the first time, and it's like, what the hell? It would be such a cruel and funny prank. Overall, I'm not pleased about the change. Some, or maybe even most fans aren't happy, especially with this being our new Peter Parker moving forwards. But I'm not going to kick off, because I seriously doubt Insomniac will change their minds, especially when they've spent so much time and effort and money into doing all this. I'd definitely prefer if they kept Peter Parker the same for the John Bubniak model, especially if Miles is the same and is now going to look older than Peter, and especially if all the other character models are the same. It just feels a bit more fair that way, and it's not just the main character that's changing. So, has this whole thing made 2020 worse for you? It's just pretty funny how big this has gotten, for a very valid reason. But I think in the grand scheme of things, in the world, there's bigger things to worry about. And when Insomniac have been really great with handling Spider-Man recently, and pleasing fans with their character portrayal, a great game, no microtransactions, so many suits, like, we're getting 3 more, like, what more can you ask for? It just seems a bit unfair that they've maybe received so much backlash, especially Ben Jordan, who is just doing his job. So the question is, are the complaints valid? Definitely, but like I said, when Insomniac have been really good to their fans, I think it's fair just to cut them a bit of slack. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll speak to you all next time. Up and away, web! Nah, That's not a good outro. Oh, and Jamie Foxx is apparently coming back as Electro in the Spider-Man Far From Home sequel with Tom Holland. Like, that's so confusing. Anyway, see you next time. Goodbye.